Hi, so we are going to work on graphing this quadratic equation. The first thing that you want to try to do is to factor it. We want to factor it to find our zeros, and those will be our x-intercepts. And the first thing you always want to do is look for a GCF. All three of these terms have a 2 in common, so we can factor that 2 out. And 2 divided by 2x squared will leave us with just x squared. 2 divided by 8 is 4, so we'd have 4x left there, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And now we want to see if we can factor this anymore. What we would look for are factors of 2, so numbers that multiply to 2, but that add to this number in front of x, which is negative 4. So we want it to add to negative 4. And there isn't going to be a combination, so you have 2 times 1. You could also have negative 2 times negative 2, that would, or negative 2 times negative 1. That would also multiply to a positive 2, but neither one of those would add to a negative 4. So what we're going to have to do, we actually can't factor this anymore. What we're going to do to find our roots is use the quadratic equation, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of, I don't know why I put that, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's always, anytime you have a quadratic equation, you can always use this function to solve it. So if it doesn't happen to factor, just jump to this. And your b value is negative 4. It's just the number in front of your x term. C is positive 2. A is going to be 1. You could do this from even your beginning equation. Your a, b, and c would be different, but your final results here should end up being the same once you simplify everything. So you're going to have negative of negative 4. So if you have a negative b, it actually, this part ends up becoming positive. So we're going to have plus or minus b squared, so we'll have negative 4 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 1, 2a. So we're going to have 4 plus or minus the square root of positive 16 minus 8 all over 2. So we're going to have 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 all over 2, which would be 4. And then 8 breaks down into 2 times 2 times 2, so a 2 will come out, a 2 will have to stay underneath, so you have 2 square root of 2 all over 2. Now here what you can do is actually cancel 2's out of all of these. 2 into 4 is 2, 2 into 2 there is 1, and 2 into there is 1. So you end up with 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. And you're probably thinking, well, how do I graph that? Well, the best thing to do would just be to put it in your calculator. Do 2 plus the square root of 2. That's going to be one of your zeros, and just round it. So you're going to get 2 answers. 2 plus square root of 2 is approximately 3.4, around 3.5. And you're just sketching the graph. So you just want to get really, close to that and just show that that's about where it's at. And then 2 minus the square root of 2 is about 0.58, we'll say 0.6. Okay. So about 1/2 and about 3.5 is, probably as close as we're going to get on this graph. Let me throw a graph on here really quickly. Okay, so we're going to plug in or graph those values. So 3.4 we'd go 1, 2, 3. 3.4 is about there. And 0.6 would be a little bit more than 1/2. Okay, so those are our two x-intercepts. That's the first thing you want to find are your x-intercepts. Then we're going to work on the vertex, which is negative b over 2a. That's the formula for it. Now for this, we're going to do the a, b, and c off of the original formula. So our b value is actually negative 8. And when we do negative of negative 8, we are going to get positive 8. And then 2 over, or over 2 times a, and a is 2. So we get 8 times 4, or excuse me, 8 divided by 4, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now that's our x value. So we know along here, our vertex is going to be somewhere along here. To find our y value, we're going to need to plug that in. So we're going to take that value of 2 and plug it in. I'll do that down here. So we're going to do f of 2, and that's going to equal 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 4. And 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is going to give us, well, we can do, well, you would be doing the exponent first anyway, so I don't want to confuse you there, but just do it in, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that order, but you would do exponents and then multiplication is going to be next. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exponent and the multiplication in the same step. You'll get 8 here. And then 8 times 2 is 16. Now we're going to add from left to right, so we're going to get negative 8 plus 4, because I put these two together to get the negative 8, and then we're going to get negative 4. So our vertex is at 2, negative 4. So that means we have the point 2, negative 4. So we go right to, start at the origin, 1, 2, and then down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you also have your axis of symmetry is going to be at your vertex value. So what that means is that you just kind of have this imaginary line, and your parabola is going to be a mirror image around that. So you can do more points if you want to, and to get those points you could just make a t-chart, a column for x, a column for y, and you can just pick the x values that you'd like. Now some good x values to pick are a couple to the left of the axis of symmetry and a couple to the right of the axis of symmetry. So you could pick x equals 1 and x equals 0, just to see, okay, where would another point be along here? It'll probably be, in here somewhere. And then my value for 0 is going to be up here somewhere. And I know that, of course, just, because I've done these for a while, but you can do more if you want to, is my point. But just look at your axis of symmetry to see how to pick those x values. So I could pick like 1 and 0 to the left, and then I could pick 3 and 4, or anything over here. You could do 4, 5, 6. You can do as many as you'd like. So maybe do like 4 and 5. Now the nice part is if you find that, say for example that we put in an x value of 1 and we got out for our y value that it was negative 2. So you go 1, negative 2, and you graph that point. Well, the axis of symmetry is your mirror, so there's going to be another point on this side in the exact same spot. So that'll help you develop some points if you need some more points to connect. But you can actually just graph it from here, because again, you're just graphing the general shape of it. It's not going to be, perfect, but you should know that if it has an x squared, it's going to be a U shape, so make it look like a U. And you should keep going, for as much graph paper as you have, and put an arrow at the end to show that this actually keeps going. We just didn't draw it because our graph paper stopped there, but the arrow just means that it would actually keep going to infinity. And that's all you have to do. So you really just need those 3 points. Just realize you have your axis of symmetry, and if you really want more, you can make a t-chart. Use your axis of symmetry to find a couple points, or how you could do as many points as you want to the left and to the right, just to get an idea of exactly where it's at. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have questions.